Alright, so we all know and agree that in order for you to manifest anything, whether intentionally or unintentionally, you first have to let go of it. You first have to become detached from its outcome. And we experience this all of the time. You are going through this type of creation and this type of manifestation day by day, hour by hour, moment by moment, with everything you are creating in your external reality. Just like that effortless cup of coffee, or just like that beautiful meal, whenever you're not really attached to it, whenever you're not bothered how it turns out, you're just doing it for yourself, you're just doing it with love and an unbothered way, although you are creating it with love, and so it turns out to be an amazing meal. But when you're so tensed up, perhaps you have some people coming over and you want to impress them and you want to share this meal with them and you want it so desperately to come out good. Things happen and things get messed up, and you burn this thing and you burn that thing, and you complicate the process simply because you became too attached to it. And whenever you're too attached to something, but then it becomes a talking point, a conversation point, and yeah, I burned this, and it's so it's not for nothing. But whenever you're too attached to something, you're resonating more on the lack of that thing from your reality. You're vibrating on the lack of that thing. What you are truly saying is that you are asking, you are praying, as it's as if you are praying for it to not happen well now, to not go your way now. When you're unattached, when you're detached, things work out in your favor magically, perfectly, without you really investing all of that effort. But when you're too attached to something, just like that person that that you could lay back over whenever you want, that person that you perhaps consider as a spirit, although that's not a good thing, that's not healthy. But if at that point in which you've done such a thing, that you felt as if you could have this person whenever you want, you could attract that person whenever you want, and as such you're not bothered, you're not even interested all that much in them, and you find that you attract them easily, and they're always there for you, and you could have them whenever you want. But when it's someone that you really care about and you're not sure how it's gonna turn out with them, and this or that and this, and am I even able to have that person, am I even able to make it work with that person, you find that you complicate things more than necessary, and you mess things up, both psychologically and more so energetically, and you don't end up attracting that person as easily as you expected, or as easy as the other person in which you knew you already had them whenever you want. But what we're talking about today is the real reason, is the real base to any manifestation process, intentional or non-intentional. This is where the starting point, this is where all manifestation starts from, and it is aligned intention, or setting intention with alignment, setting intention out of alignment. And that's the thing I realized mostly that kickstarts the process of manifestations. Once you have that alignment intention, or aligned intention, you start noticing bits and pieces, ripples, driving you towards that manifestation, creating that manifestation in your reality. Once you set that intention with alignment, out of alignment. And that is just like, for example, whenever you're going somewhere and you have to finish, you have to complete some documents, or you have to run some errands, and you have to, whenever you go out to your day, and you start your day by the thought that if I don't get to complete it today, it's gonna happen tomorrow, so I'm not that worried. Whenever I just need to finish to get to that point, but if I don't get to that point today, I'll get there tomorrow. There's always another day. So you're not bothered. And the next thing is that you're not attached. You're not like, I need it today, I need it today, I need it to happen today, I need it to happen today. You're letting it be. But more so than letting it be, more so than letting go of the outcome, is that you have set yourself, you affirmed yourself in a way. Now again, this could be happening consciously or subconsciously, but it is what's happening. You set yourself, you affirmed to yourself that I'm aligned with that thing one way or another, that this thing is going to manifest in my reality one way or another. which is, you completing that thing, or you having that meeting, or you meeting that person. If it doesn't happen today, I'm gonna meet them tomorrow. If I don't get to buy those things today, I'm gonna, get them tomorrow, or the next day, or the day after, or whatever. So what you are truly saying is that I am in a perfect alignment with that thing, and as such, it's gonna manifest in my reality one way or another. And what ends up happening is that whenever you set foot towards that thing, whenever you set foot in the direction of that thing happening, whenever you take your first step towards that thing, you find that it actually comes to you so effortlessly, and you're able to finish it throughout the same day, and you don't have to wait another day. Although you set to yourself, could be tomorrow, it could be the day after, you're not that bothered. One way or another, it's gonna happen. This kind of initiative is exactly what drove you towards that thing as fast as possible, as soon as possible, and helped you create it and manifest it in your reality with no effort, almost no effort. The moment you set foot towards it, it was already working out in your favor, because you had aligned intention, and second, you were not attached to the outcome. But the moment you go and you find a queue, for example, a waiting line to that thing, and you start thinking, am I gonna get it done today? Am I gonna get to that meeting today? Am I gonna make it to that thing today? Am I gonna be able to have that thing today? You start having those thoughts, and you start getting mad, and you start getting too attached. I just want to get it done with, today, because I want to relax tomorrow. I don't want to waste more time on this thing. The more you get worked up and tensed up about that thing you're trying to create, to have, to meet that person, you find that, for example, by the time you reach the end of the queue, that product is done. There's no more, that the product you finished, the products are finished, or that the time was already way past and they had to close, or you're already that waiting time made you miss out on your appointment or in your meeting somewhere else. You'll find this and starts working out in a domino effect type of way, just like those companies that market how customer service or customer oriented companies, just like the aircraft companies, and they tell you by the time the passenger come onto your plane, for the crew or the attendants, they had already had so much on their plate, they have already went through so much, and now they're coming here to release it all in at that person, at that crew, at the crew perhaps, or at the flight attendant. And that's how things work. It started perhaps with them missing out on something, and they had to go back, and the taxi arrived late, and they had to drive back home, and to get back the thing to get their passports, they forgot their passports, and then they encountered traffic on their way, and then they came to the airport, and it was very crowded, and then the facilitating desk, or the baggage desk, or whatever, the customs were so crowded, and they took the wrong line, they took the wrong queue, and they had to wait and then go to a different queue, and this and that, and things kept happening here and there, and so they're getting charged with negative energy. What I'm trying to get at with this is, where I'm trying to reach with this is, the moment one thing goes wrong in your day, in your pursuit, you start believing that everything is gonna go wrong. You start lowering your standard, not necessarily believing that everything is gonna go wrong, but you lower your standard, you lower your expectations. Okay, I just want to get it done. I just want to get done with it today. Okay, I just want to have half of it done by today. Okay, it just, at least let me, take an appointment for the next day. At least let me confirm a meeting for the next week. At least, and you start lowering your standards. But what is this truly doing? What is the domino effect here? Is that once something goes wrong, your aligned intention starts shifting out of alignment. It stops being aligned intention, but rather simply an egoistic intention. You stop believing that things are gonna work out one way or another in your favor. You start thinking, okay, maybe it's not gonna happen today. Maybe I'm not gonna get to that point today. Maybe I'm not gonna complete this today. Maybe I'm not gonna attract that person. Maybe I'm not gonna get in a date that person by this month, or whatever. Once you start getting hints that it might go wrong, that you might not make it on time, you start believing it more and more, and you lower your standard, and then it stops being aligned intention. And what that causes it for is for it to go wrong, is for it to keep going wrong. And that's why they say that once it rains it pours, when it rains it pours. It's like a domino effect, it pushes throughout everything else. Once something goes wrong in your day, you find that it creates ripples throughout the rest of the day. And once you have something bad happening, it's like the rest of the day is ruined. And it's a bad day. It turns from just being one bad thing to a whole bad day. And that's because your alignment starts shifting, your intention starts shifting out of alignment. And this is something that I've observed and I've noticed very, very clearly. Just like the worst thing that ever happened to me back in 2021, I found myself in the worst dark night of the soul, and the most fearful, hurtful, painful, disgusting dark night of the soul. Let's say it was not for nothing, I knew that, and I know that more clearly now, but it was at that point, too much for me to handle. And I manifested my way out of it the quickest of any dark night of the souls. And magically, it worked out so magically, so effortlessly. Simply because it was too bad to be true. Have you ever heard this, saying? Make it a new one now. Because this is real. This is as real as it's more real than it's too good to be true. So start using this from now on. It was too bad to be true for me. The moment it happened, because that dark night of the soul, it started with its peak right away. The way I look at a dark night of the soul is that it has, an initial phase, and then a peak, and then like an outro, or to where it reaches its climax, and then it disappears, and it becomes a teachable and informative and knowledgeable experience in your life that taught you so much, that directed your focus towards something else when you were not on your path, when you were not clear on what you should do next, or where you should go to next. And so at that point, simply because it was too bad to be true for me, the first thing I thought, I felt, I became, I acted upon was that there's no way in hell that this is here to last. There's no way in hell that this is here due to my karma. And as such, why would it be here if it's not? So, I was not even like doubting my belief. I was not like, did I really deserve this? Did my karma lead me here? Did my, creation actually, did my manifestations, did my core actually ended up creating this manifestation into my reality? I was not barely remotely even thinking about this. I knew, so it was like the absolute base, the absolute belief was like, there's no way in hell that I could be aligned with this kind of experience, which means that it's not here to last, which means that it's not here for its bad aspect, but it's just here to perhaps direct my focus. And so I was thinking, okay, so if it's not here to last, why is it here? That was the starting point of my thought, and that tells you that I was in perfect alignment with the non-existence of that thing from my reality. In my reality, this was my initiative. Why would it be here if I know that I'm not aligned with? It's given that I'm not aligned with this experience, so why is it here then? And I start building on that. So that was the absolute base to me. That was the belief. This was the core belief to me. And this is aligned intention. Simply just like knowing that it's gonna happen one way or another. And I manifested my way. It ended that peak. It was the quickest peak I've been through in any dark night of the soul. Although I have had several dark night of the souls before that experience, this was simply the last one. And it still has ripples up to this day. It was so intense that it still is affecting me up to this day. But perhaps I delayed it. Because I was in so much resistance, and I rejected what was happening, and I was not accepting what was going on, and as such, I was not opening space for new things to enter into my life. Although I was conscious about that, it was happening consciously, but it was the case. It was not something that I could easily just accept. and I gave myself this downtime. But the thing is, I knew that it's not here to last. I was in perfect alignment with the intention that I'm one way or another, it's gonna end. And as such, I was not even experiencing any fear. If you had told me that before that, you would go through such an experience, I would freak out. I would go like, I would think about myself, experiencing so much fear and anxiety and stress and hatred and despite what's happening. But when it happened, that was not the case. It was like I knew it 100%. It came to me intuitively. It came to me from God. It came to me from my higher self. It came to me from my core beliefs, from my subconscious, wherever, that this is not gonna last. I knew it 100% that I cannot be aligned with this. No way in hell I am aligned with this kind of experience. And this is aligned intention. The second pointer to that experience is that I was not attached, simply because I knew, simply because the starting point was that aligned intention to the manifestation, and that caused me to detach from the outcome. I don't care how this is gonna turn out. I don't care how this is gonna end. I don't care, because I know that I'm not 100%, I'm not in alignment with that experience, and as such it's gonna disappear one way or another. Exactly just like when you're standing in that queue, when you're going out to facilitate some documents, to finish some papers or whatever, to run some errands, when you're thinking that, one way or another it's gonna happen, I don't have to stress this. If it doesn't happen today, it's gonna happen tomorrow or the day after, whatever. When you have this kind of initiative, first you are setting aligned intention, meaning that you are saying and affirming to yourself, to the universe, to God, to your higher self, that this is gonna happen one way or another. I know it's gonna happen one way or another. Second, it's causing you to detach from the outcome, to not be so tensed up, like I need it, I am so desperate for it to happen. Why is it not happening? Why is it getting late? I still did not, I have other things to get to. You're not feeling that way. It's causing you this aligned intention, or setting intention out of alignment, based on alignment, is causing you to detach from the outcome. And this is how everything works. That's how it goes on through each and every moment of your day. With that beautiful meal, with that effortless cup of coffee, with that glass of water, you wake up and you have no resistance to having a good cup of coffee. You have no resistance to having a beautiful breakfast. You have no resistance to driving to your place of work, or to your friend's house, or to your significant other. You have no resistance to experiencing a loving relationship with your significant other. You have no resistance to, and that's why it happens. But the moment it's not the case, the moment you have, whether it's out of nowhere or whether it's based on previous experiences, I know that this happened in the past, I know that we clashed in the past, so it's not gonna happen. Today is gonna be another bad day. You find that it does not work out that well. You find that you actually cause a ripple, you cause a domino effect. Okay, this went bad yesterday, today must, it's gonna show some remains, it's gonna show some ripples throughout my experience today, throughout this day. And you end up, or simply, with that person, just once again back to the example of whomever you're not very attached to, whomever you're not, you always have them, you have as a spare, for example, they're always so easy for you to attract them. It's always so easy for you to have them in your life. Whenever you need them, they're right there. But when it's someone that you are experiencing resistance and doubt and second thoughts, am I gonna be able to have that person in my life? Am I, gonna be able to make this work out? Then you start shifting out of aligned intention and going into non-aligned intention. You're not affirming that one way or another this is gonna happen. But rather what you're truly saying is that I'm not ready for this yet. You're praying, you're asking, you're affirming to God, to yourself, to the universe, that you're not yet ready for this experience, and as such, it's gonna happen. You're always one step behind. There's always another step to take towards that thing. It's something that's gonna happen in the future, but you're affirming, you know it within yourself, within your fearful little body, that you're not aligned, you're not in perfect alignment. that you're not yet ready. And that's exactly what you're asking for out of yourself, out of the universe, out of God. And as such, it never happens now, but it's always one step later, tomorrow, the next day, the next month, the next year. And that's how you delay your breakthrough. And so the next time you find yourself hitting rock bottom, use it in your favor. Just like that worst dark night of the soul that I experienced, it was my breaking point. It was the absolute of what I could take and handle, and I never thought I would get to experience more absolute than what was my absolute previously. Prior to that experience, I thought that I had it all, that I experienced the worst of the worst. But then this came, and simply because it was rock bottom, I awakened to my power. I let it empower me rather than destroy me, than cripple me. I came from a place of self-worth and self-value, of knowing my value. No way in hell I am aligned with that experience. That was my belief. That was my self-worth. That was my power speaking. No matter what I had done, no matter how bad I felt, no matter how resentful I've become towards my life, no matter how much I was at the end of my phase and I was getting too comfortable, I was ignoring my grand intention. That's not what I actually asked for. If it's just a pointer, that would make sense. If it's just here to direct my focus, to redirect my focus, that makes sense. But I know there's no way in hell it's here to last. And that's also something that's called the beta region paradox, now that I think about it, when in which it tells you that the worse the experience, the easier it is for you to pull yourself out of it. Because when it's not that bad, when your relationship is just getting by, when your job is just getting by, you're like, okay, let me just remain in that familiar zone, in that stable zone. But when it's too bad, when it's too toxic, when it's an abusive relationship, when it's an abusive workspace, when you're not getting paid even enough to just barely survive, you're like, I need to get out, and you pull yourself out. I'm not aligned with this. I don't know this, but this is not for me. I know that there's no way in hell this is gonna last. I know my worth, I know my self-worth, I know my value. And that comes from a place of loving yourself. That comes from a place of really knowing your worth and knowing your truth. And always remain in your power. Always empower yourself. Always fall in love with yourself. Because that could get you out of the worst of the worst situations. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to another video by AF's Conscious Frequency. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, because it helps me so much, and it helps this video find its way to many more others who might actually need it.